Hello and welcome back to Talking Pitchside. I am your host PJ with my co-host Tony. As always, we are back safely from London. We are sorry that we missed the first recap Tuesday of the year. Pretty tough timing that, but we are here to do a mega episode this Friday. Recap, preview, all the storylines. So bear with us if you're a podcast listener. This is your day because you're gonna have a lot of content here to listen to. But Tony, usually this is the time when I ask you maybe a personal question and we'll talk about that. I don't even think we have time for that. I think we got to get right into the good stuff here
Yeah.
because we missed so much MLS action while we were gone. We watched from afar in ungodly hours. We watched our home
hmm
team FC Cincinnati on an iPad that was cutting in and out, but we saw enough to see the 2-0 victory. It was a ton of fun, but there is like a small part of me. I'm really excited to be back on my couch this Saturday watching a full slate of MLS soccer.
I this is like normal week for all of you, but it's kind of like a double game week for us, where we got to
Yeah.
cram in all of that information. Which it's
This
really
is our
we're getting.
MLS is back, by the
This is
way.
our MLS
This
is
is our
back,
we get to have our own MLS is back weekend.
and bear with us as we go through this. But we do have a lot of double game weeks ahead, so it's like we're
Hmm.
kind of getting ahead of the curve of everybody else by practicing. That's what we're
Yeah,
doing right now. We just felt like we were already doing so well. We needed to kind of humble ourselves a little bit and just get into the rhythm of what this is going to feel like for like all of the year leading up to the World Cup. So, yeah, I'm ready for a shotgun blast today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
yeah. So as I said, we're gonna do a preview. We're gonna do a recap, but I think we start with some storylines. And the biggest storyline that dropped while we were in London, I think we were driving in the car together on the way back. Actually, when we were back in the States, and that was Antoine Griezmann to Orlando. And this is not officially done. We've seen him pull the rug on an MLS team before in LAFC, and all signs are pointing to this happening. So we're going to talk as if this is going to happen, and if we need to correct it further down the line, we'll do that. But let's talk about what this would mean for the MLS and for Orlando City as a whole, because great move. This is a guy who I think we talked about in person is going to have a great impact leading into a World Cup in the MLS because he is a French international that has performed at the highest level, at the highest stage, and has won a World Cup, being one of the best players on his team for France. And he's still a guy that's going to be produced. He's still going to produce. Like he's not coming in at the end of his career. For Orlando, that's you're getting a guy that's really going to contribute to your team in an attacking way, which that team needs it. And we'll talk about their game later on. And for the MLS as a whole, this is a guy who's so pro America. Like all the memes and jokes about Antoine Griezmann, like loving America, are true. Like he loves the NBA. He loves all the trading card phase craze that goes on in America. Like he's a part of all of that. So as a culture fit, I love it. It's one of those things like James Rodriguez we've talked about. We've questioned how that's really gonna like he's gonna fit into the culture and what they're doing in Minnesota. Antoine Griezmann, I really believe would have fit into any of the 30 teams in the league, and you would have been happy with where he ended up. But I think we're especially happy, and I'm speaking for you a little bit, that he's not going to one of those top four clubs in the league. And I mean, Orlando's still a destination. It's still a warmer weather destination, and I know their fans are going to say they're a huge club, but this is not the LAFCs of the world. It's not the LA Galaxy. It's not a New York team, even or Chicago team. This is a team that's kind of mid market, you would say, in the MLS to a degree, and to get a star like that is it's great for the league and the like competitiveness in the league that we're going to see stars going to some of these other teams that aren't necessarily the biggest markets in the world, and I think that is a fantastic thing for the league.
Yeah, I think it really this is echoing all the stuff that we said when Hamas came to Minnesota, all the things we said when Mueller went to Vancouver, where you get these guys that like you said, are just prolific world level guys, maybe out of their, I mean, not maybe out of their prime, but you know are so storied, will sell jerseys. I think offer a lot of just kind of entertainment value just to see like how they are still faring at a league that is becoming more and more competitive every year. That's the part that's exciting about this. As far as a fit for Orlando, um, I think that that's going to be really interesting to watch. Obviously, like there's a striker opening. Duncan McGuire's probably a little bit upset about this, but how are you ever going to say no to Antoine Griezmann if you can pull him in, right? So I think that part's just a really good thing, like you said, for the league. And specifically, we talk about how, like, if you're looking at like all the tasty matchups, this sucks that we'll preview a little bit. Orlando Miami is this weekend, and
I
Griezmann's not
know.
going to be here for that. But fortunately, we should probably have them around for the other one. But just all the storylines, with Atletico Madrid and Rodrigo de Paul, and then obviously Messi with Bayern and like all that's or not Bayern. Why did I say Bayern? Barcelona. Jeez, we're this is why we're getting the double game week practice now. Um, but it's so tasty being the Florida or a Clasico del Sol. Um, and just having Griezmann in that, and that may be at a pull for him too to be like kind of competing directly with them a lot. So I like that move from that sense, from the storyline sense. Will it work? Obviously that's yet to be seen, but that's what we say every time with anyone.
Hmm.
And what we can celebrate now is knowing that like if this is incredible or if this is a catastrophe, like it's going to turn heads. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be just entertaining overall.
Yeah, I mean it's a move all 30 almost teams make if they can,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't really. He's one of those guys you don't really worry about the fit. You worry about how you make everyone else fit around him to a degree because you don't turn an opportunity like this down. So credit to Orlando. I think that it takes a package to convince a guy like this to do a move like this. If you're not one of those big clubs, so you got to give him credit. You got to give him credit for getting out there and getting a deal like this possibly done.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is one doesn't end poorly, but we're gonna act like it's going on for now. A quick hitter one here, Tony. I think it's really huge for LAFC is Denny Bouanga getting an extension with LAFC, making him one of the top 10 highest paid players in the league. I think we talked about the storyline and him flirting with other teams. We pointed to this that this really felt like something that was a contractual dispute, and he wanted to be paid more, and that's really what this seems like. And I'm happy for LAFC that they got it done. This storyline can just be done and dusted now. You're coming off the heels of this big win this past week, and you now have this pushing factor of going, okay, we don't have to worry about Danny Buang moving on somewhere. We're focused on this season and winning, and right now looking like possibly the favorite. Of course, coming out of the West at minimum and competing with Inter Miami as we saw week one. So huge for LAFC to get this one done.
Yeah, they saw him dunk on Dane St. Clair, and they said, "Okay, let's ink this guy. We'll pay him whatever." I mean, yeah, I think that the writing was kind of on the wall. We've seen this move from him at LAFC specifically. Now this is the third time, so it just felt like the history repeating itself again. It's not any big surprise to see here we are, but it's a great thing for LAFC. Obviously, if Bawanga were to leave, it'd be interesting what they could do at that DP spot. But with where LAFC is right now, you need to hold on to your known quantities. Bawanga's been a known quantity for pretty much as long as he's been in the league. So it's smart. I mean, he was a DP, still gonna be a DP. You pay him what he wants. It doesn't impact where you're at with your budget. It just you just take care of it and do it. Maybe down the line you sell him, but for now, this puts, like you said, kind of everybody on the same page. We're here to
Mm-hmm.
work. Let's go and do this, which is exactly what you want to see for LAFC after a statement win this last weekend and just really high hopes for the season.
Yeah, and that DP slot they would have filled probably would have been Antoine Griezmann if they were actually
Yeah,
serious about getting rid of him. So
right.
I think all these rumors lined up that it didn't never really felt like LAC were going to move on from Buanga. It was more of just let's get this contract figured out so we're all happy. Last one I want to touch on before we get into recap here. Not this is the not fun news that we have coming this week. Eric Ramsey has been let go from West Brom after the short stint after leaving Minnesota. This was a move at the time we both questioned. Like I remember recording and talking about it. I think you could go back to one of our previous episodes and he was talking about because he was going into a relegation battle side, like a team on the bottom half. That's why they fired their previous coach Ryan Mason, brought him in to hopefully fight that off. And I think his tactics usually do well in terms of, hey, we just need to survive in a relegation battle, that vibe back, and it was nothing like that at all. He went 9 games winless at West Brom, 5 losses, 4 draws, and this has now become a cloud over the MLS with two of our people would consider the better coaches in the league going off and trying a next job and failing, not just failing probably in the most embarrassing way you can fail, which is about a month and a half stay at both Celtic for um, for Nancy and then West Brom for Eric Ramsey, and it's tough. I feel for him. I don't know what his next move will be. With Wilfred Nancy, I really believe is even though he got fired, it's like he's going to look for Europe for the next move.
Yeah.
I legitimately think we might see Eric Ramsey back in the MLS next year, just because he was able to produce on that with that Minnesota side. We've talked about his tactics and how they don't last long under a lot of people because they want to play real football and be attacking. And I think you could say that, you can argue that, but you can also argue the dude won in the MLS, and those guys usually get second chances. So I do think, I mean, I'm just gonna throw out some names: a Montreal, a SKC in the future if they really moved on from the new coach. Like the lower end teams, if they were like, we really need to right the ship here and just be competitive, he's gonna make a team competitive in the MLS. He's gonna raise their floor. Hopefully, I mean, we didn't see it at West Brom, so this is tough. I feel for him, but I think this is something we might have seen, maybe not going this bad, but seen going poorly, just the timing of the move and trying to make the move when he did. And this is definitely a cloud over the MLS coaching sphere now.
It is. Well, one thing with both him and Nance that like you have to kind of protect and remember is like they both joined struggling teams, mid-season. I don't have any fact in front of me, but if I would go on a limb and say that both of them joined their teams with less than a week before their next game, like getting right back into the swing of things, learning all these names, faces, understanding who plays where and what their strengths are, and all of that. So it is a really, really short runway to turn things around. And not saying that's impossible, not saying they couldn't have done better, just saying that is a really tall task at hand. That being said, with Ramsey, like his tactics, like you said, are kind of the allude to like the smaller teams in leagues that are trying to hold on. I kind of thought that there was room for that to really work, and I'm not a West Brom fan. I've not watched that intently. Just kind of seen how the results have been. Obviously, really poor. Just not going their way. So I don't know what exactly broke down there, but I think I'd be really surprised if I saw him back in MLS. Just because
Really?
he was an assistant. Yeah, he was an assistant at United right before he came here. This was his big jump to switch over to head coaching, and like it worked out well. Being a head coach in the championship, like that could go a lot of ways and potentially very good ways for you. But since that goes bad, like I feel like I would believe more of a back to assistant role and somewhere in Europe again. I mean, that's where is home for him. He's very young and was incredibly young as assistant in United. Like I just think that he's able to impress in that way, and like you hear people talk about sometimes people are built out better to be assistant coaches than head coaches and can kind of fill that role better. And maybe that's what Ramsey is. I don't know.
Yeah, but he had the
Obviously,
success in the MLS. It's
yeah,
not like it.
in MLS, sure. But I mean, how many trophies was that? Like that
I
there
mean, he
wasn't
wasn't there
any.
very long.
No, but and he made a final or sorry, a semifinal.
Yeah, and he
Um,
was Minnesota's coach.
right. Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Exactly.
he did not come at the brightest time for Minnesota and made them into a contender. And coming off the heels of this past season, I just believe that someone's would give him a chance. Like, I don't think that. I mean, I could definitely see the route you're talking. I understand it.
Yeah.
I just don't think him coming back to MLS would be an MLS decision. I think it'd be an Eric Ramsey decision of how he wants his career to go, because
Hmm.
I I I don't know how you can look at what he did the past couple of years and just whether you like his style or not, and that can be an argument itself. How the results don't give you hope that he could do it with another smaller market team because he did it with Minnesota. And I think that is going to attract somebody to give him a chance. Now, it depends on how quick he moves on to his next job and how
Yeah.
quick he wants to move on to his next job after all of this. So we'll see. But like you said, I mean, England is home. So I if he wants to stay there and continue to work there, I could see the assistant route. But I don't think he's getting a head coaching job anywhere around that area anytime soon.
No,
And
absolutely not. Yeah.
if he's going to stay home, then it's definitely going to be the assistant route. I just think if he took a year off here, I think he could be back in the coaching sphere in
Yeah.
the MLS.
You just have to ask. I would assume that his aspiration would be coaching, head coaching, like in a Big Five league, right? And so, what's your best path from this point to get back to that? And I'm not sure that you could just go back to head coaching MLS. Even if it was, I mean, maybe if it's a longer stint and it's like, okay, absolute dynasty, then maybe you get that opportunity to jump, back into England, a championship team, something like that. Or maybe something in between, kind of like a Serie A or Bundesliga type job. But I just see like trying to repeat that path seems pretty unlikely if your
Yeah, I mean,
ultimate goal is
if his
still yeah.
goal is coaching a top five league at this point, or coaching in England in the Premier League at some point,
Hmm.
I totally get it. I just think he it's going to depend on him and what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I just think the option will be there for him, and it will come down to his decision, not an MLS decision of wanting him. If that makes sense, it's going to be where he wants to accept his rose
Yeah.
to a degree, whether it's assistant or MLS head coaching gig. But we'll see. We'll see. It's tough. I feel bad for him. He was a great coach in the MLS, and so was Will Nancy. And it stinks to see these guys fail because I think what these guys doing in a success story does for a league like the MLS is huge. Like you go in and
Yeah.
see your coaches do big things. I think that helps create so many more opportunities for other guys and guys to get a chance, even at smaller clubs than these guys went on to. So it's tough. I feel for him. I think he'll land on his feet. I think he's a good guy. He's still really young. He's still in his 30s, so he's going to have plenty of opportunities going forward in his career. Okay, Tony, let's get to the bread and butter here. Let's get to the people want to hear about
Yeah.
that they're usually going to hear about in a Tuesday episode, so we feel bad for that. Also, Tuesday episodes going forward, we're going to be doing a top 10 power ranking segment. So if you've seen our tier list we've done, we're going to make that into like a power ranking reveal here. And I think that's going to be a fun little thing to do each week just to kind of give the people our gauge on where teams are. We're not going to do that this week because we have so much to talk about. But every Tuesday going forward, we're going to be doing the talking pitch side top 10. So me and you, we've got to agree on some top 10s here to a degree. And
Impossible.
yeah, I mean, we'll probably disagree as we're actively doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that will be fun to watch. And honestly, I don't even know if starting week 2 is a bad thing because I think you get to figure out a little bit more than you.
Yeah.
Week 1 is a crapshoot. So I'm excited to do that. And we'll are you ready to do some overreactions here? Because I've got some
This
overreactions
is our
built up.
overreaction Monday.
Yeah,
Sorry you guys had to wait so long. Yeah.
this is overreactions. Let's get into it here. We'll start with the early game. St. Louis at home versus Charlotte. And Charlotte and St. Louis share a point here. It's a game I really expected Charlotte to control on the road. I think we disagreed on this one a little bit. I think you called a draw when we were doing predictions, and credit to you. This was a game, though, Tony, that really St. Louis deserved 3 points. And they played really well in this game. They controlled, especially that first half. They were on the front foot, and Charlotte made a late push. Pep Biel gets the goal to draw this one, and Charlotte's coming out of the point. I think they're happy to come out of this one with a point. Like it's week 1, just survive on the road, get a point out of it. And St. Louis, who you don't really have a ton of expectations for this year, came out strong, and you've got to be happy about that. You saw some of these other lower tier teams we've talked about in the preseason not come out as strong as they did. So you got to give them credit for coming out and getting a point out of this game.
Yeah, for sure. St. Louis deserved this one at home. I think that when I maybe not overreact, but look at kind of when you're doing your tests and saying, okay, how legit are these guys? How not legit are these guys? I look at St. Louis, just kind of like looking at the numbers and stuff. I think that while they did control this game, I'm a little bit disappointed in the quality of chances that they
Mm-hmm.
created from it. I mean, we're talking about they had 1.3 xG to Charlotte's zero point 0.6, which is great. But that's off of 22 shots. So it's not that they created the best opportunities for themselves. They made it work. Simon Betcher did a good job with this game, filling in the Klaus role. I think that was one that St. Louis. That's a guy who's really going to need to step up for St. Louis, just given that departure. Or else, he probably feels that his spot could be filled in with a new DP if he doesn't. So. I thought he did great. Back against the wall. Marcel Hartel has always been a player that when St. Louis is clicking, his name usually closely follows behind. So,
Mm-hmm.
just seeing that worked really well. And then for Charlotte, I think what I found most interesting is kind of looking at their passing map. They are kind of running, I'm not going to call it unique, but they are incredibly dependent on the winger to outside back combination. Like you see very two distinct triangles between Tofolo and Zaha, and then on the right side between BL and Byrne. So, I mean, this is like what they seem to be really identifying as is kind of making that combination play on the wings work and avoiding the middle. I think what that also is doing too is that saying, okay, let's serve the ball to Tokomati. Let's get some crosses whipped into him if they can advance on the wings like that. So something to keep an eye on that might be how they tend to build up with. But it didn't really work for them in this game. Like I just mentioned, their opportunities were even less than St. Louis's. So very interesting. I think a little bit fortunate that they were able to find an equalizer somewhat late on this. But that's the kind of point that teams that you see higher up in the standings at the end of the year, like you just rescue something, even on the road, they're able to scrape something up. So that could be an important game from that sense for them.
Yeah, this is a classic. Don't overreact if you're either of these teams.
Yeah.
I would say if you're St. Louis, looking at it from St. Louis perspective, don't overreact as if this team's going to be really an offensive juggernaut with 22 shots every game. I think they would love that. I don't know if that's going to happen. And if you're Charlotte, I think the question marks coming this year have been about the attack for the most part, in my opinion, and how that's all going to continue to develop and connect. And you would look at this game and you might be a little fearful of how that's going to look going forward. So I think you kind of relax a little bit. You take a breath. You got your point week one, and you look and see how you look week two. The next game that was standalone, Tony, we have FC Cincinnati at home versus Atlanta, getting a 2-0 victory. Pretty expected result. I think a lot of people predicted a result like this to a degree. FC Cincinnati usually start the season slow. We've seen not from a victory point wise, but a scoring output wise, and we saw that for the first 80 minutes, and that's where you thought this one was going. And then the Kevin Danke finally converts one of his chances that he had in this game, and it kind of opened the gates for FC Cincinnati a little bit. Nick Hagman gets the late goal in the corner. The redemption story in that one's great. From an offensive standpoint, if you're an FC Cincinnati fan, you've got to feel good about the chances they created and the quality of the chances, because I think that's where a lot of the concern has been, is how is this all going to connect? The biggest storyline you're concerned about, though, is Evander going down in the 13th minute. Now, luckily, because we recorded this when we know that this is not a serious injury, which is the best news you could have ever gotten, because it looked serious at first, and it turns out to be a hamstring. No deep tissue damage on this hamstring, so he's going to be out. I'm assuming he's going to be out this weekend. I think that's the expectation. They're probably going to take it slow with him, make sure he's good to go, because hamstrings are one of those things you do not want to linger. They can linger forever. But at most, I think he's just going to be missing this weekend. So that's great news for Cincinnati. For Atlanta, you're getting PTSD, and the offensive talent on this team, Tony, with the money they have invested, is disturbing. Latte Loth came from the championship, which what he didn't do anything like, and I mean this in a very respectful way. He wasn't a guy who were like, oh, this is the most athletic guy in the field, or this guy did this thing super well. But what he did was finish chances in the championship. This guy looks like he doesn't know what to do with his feet when he has the ball right now, and it's got to be all mental at this point, following up from last year. And I was one of the guys that said I thought he was going to turn it around and get that Goss theorem going.
There's
After
still a
watching this
lot of
game,
games. Yeah.
I know, but if you're going to overreact to one game, you're not feeling good about
Oh, yeah.
that theory right now. And Atlanta's going to have a lot of question marks in that offense. I actually don't think their young defense played horrible during that game. I think they stood strong for a while, and I mean, I think that partly had to do with FC Cincinnati wasting chances that they had.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a team where you've got Miguel Moran and Latte Loth up there with the money you've invested. You've got to score goals, and it's overreaction Friday on this episode, and my overreaction is I'm fearful for Atlanta and what the season's going to look like again.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat with you. The good news for Atlanta is they only lost by two. The bad news is that it could have been way worse.
Yeah,
Getting let off the hook with an Evander injury early like that. And then this is probably the most damning stat of the game passes into the opposition box. How many do you think Atlanta had?
I think might have seen this on Twitter. Was it like four?
Four. It was
Yes.
four.
Yes.
It was four to FC Cincinnati's 13.
Oh,
Um, so just it's hard. It's hard. I guess the Tata effect here. It may take a little bit of time to mature. Um, but yeah, this is a broken team right now. I don't know where to point when and where to fix it because the other side of it too was like you said, like there's wasted Cincinnati chances. I mean, to put it up 2.25 xG and only score two goals. Typically you outperform your xG. And the other stat here that goes along with that is like some people classify levels of XG is how good the chance was. So like over zero point 0.5 XG on a shot is a great opportunity. FC Cincinnati had three great opportunities and only scored on one.
yeah.
So like they got, I mean, they lost by two and Cincinnati got the clean sheet, but in a way Atlanta got bailed. Their goal differential, right now could be 3, 4, maybe even five. If that's a team that is in midseason form, creating those chances.
Hmm.
So that's the drag on Atlanta show for a second there. For FC Cincinnati, I mean that's obviously a concern as the finishing. For me, it's again one of those things. First game of the season, can't expect to be just firing on all cylinders right out the gate. The other thing that was really interesting is looking at just how left side dependent this team may become, or at least was in this game. Ramirez obviously with the assist on the Hagelin goal, but it does look like most of those passes into the box, passes into the final third, they're originating from the left side, and obviously Ramirez there. So he's going to have a key role to play and generating a lot of attack on that flank. I think that's going to be something interesting to watch when teams start paying notice to that and maybe compensating for that. So we'll see what that looks like as the season evolves. But I think that is one to watch that Cincinnati seems to be gravitating in that direction, which, how that all fills into play. How did that suit Valenzuela here for at least a week? Who's, I believe, left footed. I could be wrong on that one. Versus Vander, who's right footed. So those are just the kind of things that I think you can open up those conversations and really dive into if you want to with the Cincinnati team. But altogether, the overreaction from this one is like Atlanta's screwed. There's
Yeah.
just there's no saving it.
Yeah, you got to feel good about from FC Cincinnati side seeing guys like Valenzuela, young guys like Valenzuela and Gidi connect in that midfield for that first goal, and it was a quick drop off from Valenzuela. He didn't play with his food. He dropped it off. Gidi found Echnike in the right wing, and he found Evander Danke in the front of the net, and that quick passing like that is, I think, something that is going to benefit FC Cincinnati and those wingers of Echnike and Ramirez. I mean, they've got talent and speed on those wings and guys who can facilitate. And like you said, as teams start moving to that left wing on Ramirez, which his left foot is great, like his crossing ability. And it was rumored to us. Of course, we didn't watch many of his games in South America, but I mean, he came as the top assist guy. Like he's used to being the guy that has to facilitate, and I think the room that's going to open up for Echenike on the right wing with that speed every once in a while, where you can get Evander playing balls down the line to him and freeing up space for Denke and Jabari up front. I think that's how they're going to upgrade this offense this year, is having a left back who's actually playing, because
Yeah.
Luca Arjano did not play for FC Cincinnati last year a bunch. And I think that's how you find some success this year. On to the next game here in the 7 p.m. window. We have DC United at home versus Philly. Arguably one of my favorite games of the week, Tony. This one was fun from the storyline perspective. We talked about it beforehand. Ty Barigo going against Philly, and Philly now, of course, selling a bunch of guys and what they're going to look like this season. And DC get the 1-0 victory. Ty Barigo gets the early goal, not shy in celebrating. We when we talked about this, I asked you, I was like, did he celebrate? And you were like, yeah, he did. But then I had to go back and watch it. He didn't just celebrate, Tony. He was
Yeah,
celebrating,
he was
and
repping the badge.
then Philly get a red card in the second half, and it kind of at that point is tough for them to get many chances in this game. And you got to give DC credit. I mean, there's not many times they got 3 points last year, Tony, and they're able to do it week one against the Supporter Shield side from last year. And Ty Baribo gets his revenge awfully quick against Philly. And from a storyline perspective, a lot of fun. I think DC, this is what we're going to see. We talked about this. Just their floor has been raised with the signings that they made. And none of us believe they're going to be maybe even a playoff team this year, but they're going to be in a lot more games than they were last year. Like this is a team that's going to be competitive, and they just locked down Sean Nealis with a new contract as well. I think this week, and they're getting MLS proven guys in this lineup, and I think that's good, and I think that's what they need right now is just some type of consistency and a floor raiser, and that's someone like Ty Baribo. And all he did at Philly was score goals, and for him to get started off week one for DC against Philly to do the same thing, I think it is huge for them, and maybe a little bit of momentum builder early on in the season.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, well, one, Sean Johnson still got it. Clean
Hell
sheet.
yeah, week one
We just
shutout.
right for D. That's the first thing we gotta say off the top, right there. But no, obviously the Brebo thing's really fun. Also fun that like he scored and celebrated. He got called back, and then he scored again, celebrated even harder. So like he was feeling it. And this is a DC team that I think kind of just caught Philly off guard. And like one of the things that made Philly a Supporter Shield team last year is that like whenever they played DC and Montreal, it was like guaranteed 5-0. Like they would just run train on these kind of teams. Those days look like they're over. That's the overreaction Monday take on this is that those days are over. Philly can't run train anymore. Will they still hang tight? Will they still make a playoff spot? Very much so. Maybe not. Hard to say from one game. And that's the thing that's weird with Philly too is like it's not going to be one of those things where you stare at them and say, "Oh, well, obviously they didn't have X, Y, and Z." That never mattered to them in the first place. So that's a hard thing to evaluate about them if this is really a kind of a stray result on the road. Obviously, they're balancing CONCACAF at the same time. That's something worth mentioning, in the context of these games as well as the games we'll preview is just teams balancing their CONCACAF matchups, especially this coming round. So just something to throw in there, not to make too many excuses for Philly. I'm not gonna lie, my Grinch little smile like kind of lit up a little bit when I saw DC beat Philly. Just happy for DC. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, overreaction Friday. Don't think if you're a Philly, let's not freak out just yet. Let's see a couple more games before we see where the season's going. And for DC, overreact. Just do it. This is
Just
you may not get this many
drink it
times.
in. Yes.
You just soak it in, enjoy it. Hopefully, you get it again this week. Moving on here, we have Orlando at home versus the Red Bulls. And Tony, Michael Bradley put the kids out there, and the kids delivered. This game, I went back, and of course, we had to rewatch some of these. I went back and watched highlights. That might be the most fun Red Bulls highlights game I've watched in years. And I know they went on the MLS Cup run, and that was great, but they weren't playing offensively and attacking in those necessarily. Tony, they had 4.64 expected goals in this game. They went 2-1, and they way underperformed their expected goals. And Hall gets the brace. They have a 17-year-old to 16-year-old just absolutely balling out this team. And for Michael Bradley to start off his year like this and to trust the kids and to do what he did as the USL manager, or the I guess the youth manager for Red Bulls, and to immediately bring those kids up and for them to kind of like prove it to the world week one. It's just a great starting point, and it's something you can build upon. And uh, being a youth team can be an identity. Like if you're a team that's building up guys, we saw Dallas do this for a while in the MLS. Like being a team that builds up these young guys and sends them off, and you're making money that way. Like that is a great success story to have in the MLS. And with a guy like Michael Bradley, you can do that. And if they can produce like this while they're here, I mean, this is going to be a short stay for some of these guys because I, it's not necessarily the names you know, and the names you know is like the star names in the MLS. And we saw this honestly throughout the MLS this week, which is a great sign. Just a ton of youth, U22 players, really proving to the league that they can compete with the best of the best. And this is just a stamp of approval from everyone for Michael Bradley week one, taking down Orlando. Orlando side got their chances, also underperformed their XG. They scored one goal really late, so it wasn't really changing the outcome of this game. And maybe Antoine Griezmann helps that, but you're also now going to look at this defense who have guys that have moved on, who have injuries in that back line, and Antoine Griezmann isn't fixing those things when he comes along. And I think overreaction for them would be we just let a couple 17, 16 year olds just
Yeah.
mop the floor with our team, and that's got to be concerning.
You know, this was a crazy game when on FOTMob, the highest rated player is the goalkeeper of the team that lost 2-1.
Oh,
Because
oh,
that, I mean, like you mentioned how high Red Bull's XG was and then to only score two,
he had a
especially in that first half.
9.4.
Yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh,
Because that's how much he kept out.
that's
Um,
insane.
yes. So that's how you know this game was on roids. Um, Here's the thing. Red
Who
Bulls,
needs
I mean,
Cornell?
yeah, exactly. That could. I mean, hey, I mean, Horvath did fine, but the thing is, like, they dominated for the first half. That's the overreaction. Is if we get more games like that first half specifically, this is going to be a really exciting team. The thing is that I mean, like, Hall scored a brace. You know, that's one of the kids that they ran out. Probably got Chupamoting starting over him, which is going to be an interesting dynamic. But I think that like this is so interesting that, like you said, that could be an identity being the young guys, but also you got Forsberg in the middle of this. Cade Cowell, I mean, young,
He
but
looked good.
also been
Yeah.
around. You know, like Horvath, same thing. Like, and then Ruvakalba, like there's pieces mixed into that where it can be this really healthy, like, yeah, we're running out kids, we're flexing talent. That's how you get prospects that you sell for big dollars too. By the way, teams, you know, you can really fund a lot of those transfers that way. I mean, Red Bulls does have the luxury of also being in a very talent heavy area, but you know, all that to say, it's like they went with run the kids, but I don't think that's the main deal. Like they're gonna mix in a little bit more age, but keep kids still involved, and that's a part where it feels like this is a fresh energy with this Red Bulls team that, you know, they really kicked it in, you know, especially in that first half. Now the other side is like Orlando. Everything we'd heard out of preseason was that they were really struggling, and they really have looked discombobulated since like the last month of last season, and just totally crashed out of the playoffs against Chicago. So continuing on with this, what I will throw on that is that, you know, Robin Janssen, main man in the back, not here to play. Schlegel gone. The defense, I think, is a brand new back four.
Yeah,
If I'm
that Brazilian
correct.
kid in the highlights looked tough. It looked
Yes.
like he had a really rough game.
Yes, Iago. Yeah.
Iago, yep.
Um, but their other Brazilian kid, the winger, um, Tiago, don't get him confused. He did look good. Obviously had his goal in this game, which made it only a 1 goal game, which is just astounding when you just the more you read on all the numbers and watch the highlights, how that shook out. But yeah, there's this Orlando team. While I think there is room for concern, I think you also have to remember that currently just based on injuries and other things that they're a work in progress at the moment. I mean, things Iago's concerning for sure, but um, ideally you got Robin Johnson there instead, and maybe that's not great either. He's on the wrong side of 30 in a serious injury. You never know how he's going to return from that. I think there is some I mean, very legitimate concerns with this team. However, I don't think they're a wooden spoon contender either. So even though it felt like that after one half, but that's my both. I guess that's not an overreaction. Maybe just a that's probably the most neutral, like level-headed take
Yeah.
I'll put in today. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I come at this one. I think Orlando will be fine. Like, I think they'll figure it out. I'm more just. I mean, Red Bulls had 7 of their 11 players are 22 years or younger that were starting in that game. 3 of those 7 were 17 years or younger. Like
that's just
they had a left
insane.
back, a center mid running in the middle of that team, and the striker. All were 17 or younger. Like that is the spine of your team.
What
And
were you doing at 17?
yeah,
Like
but not that. Not probably playing Pokemon Go when that came out. That's probably what I was
that's
doing at
right.
17.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was older. We were older, but um,
Now we're making us sound older.
yeah.
Yeah.
So credit to them. Credit to Michael Bradley. If you haven't watched his post game talk to the team, it was cool. Forsberg presented him with a game ball for his first victory, and it's cool to see former MLS players come back to the league and coach. And of course, a guy like him who's even more so just U.S. men's national team legend, had a lot of time overseas. It's just a cool story, fully coming full circle, and I think they can have an identity. I think they can do this and be that type of team and have the leadership of guys like Forsberg and Choupo-Moting still mixed in that team. I think it's a good recipe. Moving on here, we have Vancouver at home versus RSL. I don't think we need to stay on this one super long.
Yeah. This one happened.
Disappointing from RSL from an offensive standpoint. Disappointing from Vancouver from an offensive standpoint. This one was 1-0. Vancouver gets the victory. AZ Jackson gets the goal in this one. And really quiet from these teams. I think if you're Vancouver, you're just telling yourself, hey, this is what they did at home last year is they shut people out. And they continue that trend. Tristan Blackman, that back line looked good again. And they've got to be happy with the result, getting all 3 points. And RSL, this was, if you're going to overreact, these are the concerns we had. It was, can this offense really click? And when we can, I think Vancouver is a really tough matchup at Vancouver week 1. I don't think you can really draw up. Maybe LAFC is the only worst matchup you could have on the road in the Western Conference. And it's just a tough place to go win. So you're hoping for a bounce back week 2.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm actually came out of this way more concerned about Vancouver than I did RSL. Um, Mainly because this is not the first choice RSL team. No Diego Luna, no Gulavogi, no Lucas Engel, super
Yeah.
important. Yeah, there's stuff like that I think that, like, okay, yeah, maybe this wasn't the most high-powered offense for RSL.
Is Diego Luna
Only,
hurt?
he
What
did not
happened?
dress, I don't think so. But he's not on the injury report either, so I've not looked into that actually. Apologies if I wasn't traveling the world, I would have.
Keep
But
talking. I'll talk about it. I'll look into it.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's the thing is for me, like this was a pretty shorthanded RSL team. Vancouver, I think, looks a lot more like how they would prefer to look. Um, the big switch up here, obviously, AZ Jackson in for Jaden Nelson. He gets the goal for this one, which is obviously the game winner. And Brian White had a couple opportunities. I was disappointed in him in. And I just don't think that they generate a lot. He's hurt. Is that it?
It was a knee injury.
Yeah. So that's no good.
Doesn't look like
Um,
it looks like he'll be playing this weekend.
okay. So there you have it, on the ground reporting right there. But I mean, yeah, we don't need to stew on this, but it does feel like generally this was a Vancouver team that looked exactly how you would draw it up, and they didn't do as well as you would like against a team that we'd have viewed a little bit weaker, and then on top of kind of hitting second and third string in a couple different spots. So
Yeah,
that's my overreaction as I'm concerned about Vancouver.
yeah. I think if you're a Vancouver fan, you're saying, "Hey, week 1, we got 3 points." That's
Yeah.
that's what you try and do, and they did it. So you got 3 points. Let's move on and continue to gel offensively. Okay, moving on to the next game here in that 7 p.m. window. We have, or I guess this is the 8 p.m. window at this point. We have Austin at home versus Minnesota. This game finishes in a 2-2 draw. Um, Pretty exciting one here. We have Minnesota drawing, getting that point, salvaging it late, and getting that goal. Very different Minnesota side, Tony. I think we had a lot of question marks. Hey, how are they going to line up this year? Is it going to look different? Are they going to play different? They run a 4-2-3-1 in this one, and I think that's exciting. If you're a Minnesota fan, you're going to see more offense like that was displayed in this one. That is also going to increase the amount of goals you're going to allow. So be ready for that as well. You're not going to win a lot of 1-0 games this year. Um, I don't think they're going to be necessarily mad about that, though. This was an exciting game from Austin perspective. Good to see Uzini get on the score sheet early. It was kind of a weird goal that he really just finished right at the net, but you like to see that regardless. And for Minnesota to get a point like this on the road late, you're pumped, and you're going to come out of this as the loser in Austin if you're at home allowing a goal that late to take away all 3 points.
Yeah. I think last year this was not the game that we would have expected to go 2-2.
No,
Um,
no.
so that's always fun, little treat for everybody there. I think that also both teams got the right people rolling into the season. You talk about just Minnesota getting Kelvin Yabo on the score sheet, and really that tawny sized hole that they have not been able to fill. I think a lot of that came from their old play style, but also certainly like if they're a counterattack team or if they're going to sit in possession a little bit more, either way, they need to have someone really going to score goals for them. And, like I said, this is 43% now instead of like 35. So it's a positive for them, in my opinion, on that. The other interesting point with this too is, like same thing goes for Austin. I think that obviously you just mentioned it, Uzuni, getting a goal is important, but also Facundo Torres getting the assist on that as well. I think that's a important piece, as well as getting Gallagher, who's been kind of quietly a little bit on the higher side of, I guess, offensive contributing, like true outside backs. He's not a wing back. I'd call him a right back. So I think that's good to see from like both fans' perspective. And I also think this is kind of a game too that I don't know if that either one would look overly concerned about themselves after this. I think Minnesota's got to feel a little bit optimistic, going on the road to an Austin team that historically is tough to score on, and put up two and, put up a fight. And then with Austin, this is a Minnesota team that's also, hard to pop the bubble on, and it looks different. And they went in blind, not really knowing what Minnesota was going to throw at them. So to get 2 goals and a tie, there's definitely worse scenarios. So
Yeah.
I think that
And no Hamas yet.
and then no Hamas yet, and no Brandon Vasquez back. That was also a bit of news. PJ, we should probably
Christian
mention
Ramirez.
Christian Ramirez.
Yeah.
Yes, so nice
That's
little stopgap for them while they wait on Brandon Vasquez. So that'll be fun to watch as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how quickly he gets integrated. Can't imagine it's this weekend. I think it'll be a next weekend thing
I don't know. He's
at
been
the earliest.
training. Yeah.
And so we'll see. But yes, that is you need a guy who's going to finish goals. I know last year was a bit of an outlier. He's a veteran guy who knows how to do it. So I think to plug him in around Facundo Torres, Uzini, those guys up top for now until Vasquez gets back, it's a great stopgap, like you said. That was a good call out on that one. Okay, moving on here, we've got Dallas at home versus Toronto. This was one of my favorite games coming the week as well because I feel I liked both these teams. And Peter Musa picked up right where he left off. I mean, this guy, they don't have a 10. Who knows if they will ever have a 10? It doesn't matter. He'll run the 10 and he'll just score goals, Tony. And that's what he does. He might be the most underrated player in the league. I know he's rated. A lot of people like him a lot. I totally get it.
Pretty rated.
I think if you know the league, his skill. But I think if you ask most people who he is, they're not going to know. Like a just person off the street, and you wouldn't know this guy's one of the best finishers in the MLS, and he is. And he's going to continue to be. He's going to continue to score goals. He's the Moose, right? Isn't that his nickname?
Moose.
So the Moose is loose, and he's going to continue to be loose this year. So that's all you got to be happy about. Toronto, I think I'm not coming out this one like super concerned. I'm like, eh. I I think their defense I thought would be better than this. I know it's only week one, so I think that's where you're telling yourself not to overreact. But you're still good on the score sheet. I think it would have been poetic for them to get a draw week one in this season. I think that's kind of what I was selfishly rooting for. But going forward, I think you hope to see more consistency in that back line with two yet veteran guys and Zimmerman, Lorea back there to kind of shut down an offense like this going forward. Because, I mean, Moose is great. Dallas can score goals. This is not going to be the best attack they see this year. And I think to start the year like this is mildly concerning. And you hope for more consistency going forward.
Yeah, and I think that and Zimmerman just did not look that good in this game. Now, a lot of that is the Moose is loose, right? Anyone's going to look bad when that's the case. But I agree. I think there is some disappointment with that debut, how that all looked back there, and I mean, it's not that Zimmerman's a DP anymore. I think that post concussion last year in Nashville, like that was taking a step down from what he was before that. And it just kind of seems that there's a little bit of a step behind now still with Zimmerman. So that could be, a cause for concern and maybe something that other teams target. But also take a step back here. Maybe this is my overreaction on this one is that Dallas's offense isn't that good. 3 shots, 3 goals. They're lucky sons of guns. That's what I think. Three shots on target. They had 13 shots altogether. The only 3 shots they put on target were goals. I know the Moose is loose.
Wouldn't it be so nice to have Sean Johnson in net getting some of those
I was
stops?
going to say, let's talk about Lucas Gavron for a second here, you guys. So maybe just a bad night for goalkeeping, maybe weird situation defense, whatever. Those things happen in MLS. There's a lot of games to play. Not every night can be your night. So that part's tricky. The other shout out I want to take is Ramiro for FC Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of filled into that missing number 10 role and did really well. One thing I like to look at with these games is American Soccer Analysis G+ rating, which I won't waste our precious time on explaining it. But every game you get to kind of see basically how well a player performed, like based on their numbers throughout their entire career, like where they sat. Logan Farrington and Ramiro played games of their career, like top 80th, 90th percentile of their career in this game. So they, the stars align for them. It'll be cool to see if they can keep that up. And this is a new like top gear for them, but I think this was like outliers in how well they played. And maybe that's some, like I said, jumping into this role, or maybe it's just kind of, it was the right night. So we'll watch that as that continues, but I kind of think that this is not super sustainable for Dallas. So that's my concern.
Yeah, we'll see. I think in the MLS, we talk about all the time. If you're the home team, you got to win those games. The home team is usually the winner in most scenarios, and they take care of business at home. So credit to them. Moving on here, we've got Houston Dynamo is another quick hitter, in my opinion, at home versus Chicago. Augusto gets 2 goals, gets the brace, and Kuipers gets an early goal, and Chicago blows that 1-0 lead. Houston gets the victory at home. Not necessarily an offensive juggernaut performance from either side. Like 2 teams that finished their chances when they had them. Like Chicago finished their only real chance of the game. Houston really only finished their 2 really good chances of the game. And this kind of a continuation of what we talked about with that Toronto defense. Like the real chances that were on net didn't get saved. And that's going to decide your game. And that's what decided this game. Credit to Houston. I think this is a team we saw even in the GM polls coming into the year. A lot of teams had Houston as like their favorite offseason coming to this year. And they've really revamped. And I think it's good for them to get victories like this early in the year as this team started to gel. Because there's a lot of new faces in this team. And to get victories in the midst of that is always going to help that happen faster. And you have guys buy into it faster. So good for them. I think honestly pretty disappointing for me from Chicago. I thought their offense is just going to be more dynamic this year, and I know it's just week one, but you're hoping for more from that attacking standpoint.
Yeah, and you didn't get Robin Lowe just yet, so that's one thing where you're missing a little creation. Obviously, Kuipers gets his
Heard of that
goal.
before.
Yeah, right, right.
Robin Lode's missing games. Who would have thought?
Yeah, terrible. And that was for an injured guy that they brought him in. What do you know? But I think just to keep it short here, the main thing that if you're a Houston fan, what you love seeing is that goal between McGlynn and Guilherme. I mean, one just a fantastic through ball assist, from deep from McGlynn. Just absolutely threading the needle to find Guilherme in behind and then score. When you're seeing your current young star link up with your brand new DP like that, that is exciting for things to come. And maybe that's my overreaction on this one, since I have to throw in one for everyone. Is that I think that Houston is as good as they look. I don't think that this is a blip. So didn't even need to lean on Bogusz too much in this one. Fairly kind of middle of the road there. But I mean, Guilherme, 2 goals. They're the two best chances of the night, like you said. But McGlynn linking him in for that second goal, I believe. That was just really. I mean, if you have not watched it, you got to watch that. That's contender for pass of the week, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It was. It's like I said, a great victory when you're putting the team together like this with a lot of new faces, mixing it all together. Next game we had Nashville. This honestly doesn't need a lot of time because we have Nashville throttling New England. And this is exactly why me and you had Nashville as high as we did. This offense, Tony, is going to score goals. And it's really their team's going to come down to is how many goals can they prevent, because they're going to be able to outscore teams. And I think this is why a lot of teams are excited for that Miami Nashville matchup this year versus last year, because it seems you need to score goals against Miami. And we saw that in the playoffs. And Nashville's going to do that. We saw Serge get a brace, Mukhtar get a goal. For New England, Campana score this. That's your, I guess, bright side looking at this one is, hey, he didn't score a lot last year, and we need him to score.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest winner of this week is Christian Espinoza, because do you think he's ever been like, oh my God, my team scored four
This
goals
is
and
a
we didn't
good
allow four
team.
goals? What the
Yeah,
hell is
right.
this? This is crazy. He's probably having
Exactly.
time of his life. He didn't even need to assist or anything. He was like, I'm just here creating chances, and my team's going to win, and I don't have to worry about my defense allowing 4 to 5 goals. So he's the biggest winner coming this. But on a real note, Nashville, this is exactly what people expected, and it's a great note to start off of at home, especially in front of those fans.
Yeah, I think that my takeaway from this one is Nashville is as good as we thought they'd be, but also New England's not as bad as I think this game allowed either. Some just tidbits for you. New England spent more time in Nashville's box than Nashville spent in New England's box. So they were getting in the right places, weren't really able to generate too many shots from that, which I think that's maybe your cause for concern. But if you're going to think about like, okay, if they're struggling to beat a low block, good news is most people are not going to throw up a low block against New England, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's some things to look forward with that. And similar to what we were just talking about with Houston, the one thing you want to see if you're New England, if you're going to go down like that, is your star playmaker, just linking up with Campana like that. That was also another beautiful cross to then touch and shot from Campana. So that's your takeaway from that. I think that New England's doing all right on the ball. They just need to start finding ways to create possession into shots, and shots into goals. So all that to say, like I think New England's going to be okay. It seems like if they can kind of create their shot, they get a little bit dangerous and sneak up on people. Maybe I'll call them the NYCFC of 2026.
Oh,
And then Nashville obviously is going to be Nashville. I mean, they just looked lights out. I think that maybe 1 or 2 goals were, I won't call lucky, but a little bit fortunate, with just kind of saves from, like, really nice saves from Matt Turner falling into Sam Surge's head as he's falling, like that kind of
yeah.
stuff. I think,
The
yeah,
foot into the headshot there for
correct.
Surge's goal was hilarious.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of stuff like that, but we say this quite often on here: you create your own luck, and
Yeah.
if you're, knocking on the door like that, it's going to go in. So
Hmm.
that's still ultimately, I think it's looking really healthy for Nashville.
Totally. What was arguably the biggest game of the week, Tony? We had LAFC, actually not arguably the biggest game of the week. LAFC at home against Inter Miami in front of 75,000 fans at the old Coliseum over there in LA. And it was cool to watch the highlights of this one and just the atmosphere around this game. I'm sure for those players, it was a lot of fun to be in an environment like that. We expected a much closer game, though, and LAFC did not allow that. A 3-0 just beat down of Inter Miami. They get a goal in the first half, and then really later on the game poured it on. This was all the talk coming this for LFC has been we don't want to be the counter team this year. I think if you were to ask Dos Santos right now, he's probably not happy the way they technically played a lot of this game, and I think that's what some of the quotes were after the game. But Miami's probably the one exception where you can say, hey, this team's probably going to control possession whether we like it or not. And we've got to be able to play this way, which they've proven they can. And for them to have 32% possession and get 3.26 XG out of that is remarkable. And they just killed them on the counter. And we saw this last year with Miami's defense at times. And I think this is if you're going to poke one hole, it really is the defense a little bit. I know Mikael is going to help that, but right now, especially as he's adjusting, that's where you're going to see the flaws. And this one just really was all LAFC. And Miami never really had a fantastic chance throughout this game, and it really came down to Messi was going to have to do something magical, and he couldn't in this one. Besides, enter the refs locker room and then dispute that happening. And even though there's video evidence of it happening, neither here or there. I'm the type of person I really don't care, so I don't really want to talk about it too much. Funny story in the end, and I don't want that to take away from the image of what actually happened on the field, and that was Son and Bouanga continuing their dynamic duo. And this legitimately is a duo, Tony. I fully expect 20 plus goals from these guys this year because I think it's going to happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's very realistic. That's why they go to the top of everyone's Golden Boot draft. Um, I think for me, what I'm most maybe concerned about, interested in, whatever, fill in the blank. Miami nearly had 70% possession in this game and could only wrangle up 12 shots. Um, and then subsequently less than 1 XG on that. That's the wild part of this to me, is just how few opportunities they got, and the opportunities they did get, how poor they were. They were not good opportunities. So I think out of any team in this league, you would have trusted Miami with breaking down a low block. Not able to do it in this game. And then obviously when you got someone like Bouanga and Son for that matter, they're just so lethal on the break that's where we just saw Miami just totally break down as getting countered like that. Son had the game of his career, like literally the game of his career, just with not just a goal and assist, but like the all the underlying numbers, like that was 100th percentile, and his contributions to the team for that game and across his entire career. That's definitely what got him the fresh ink on that contract. But this is one of those things where I think it's impressive with LAFC. It's I can like I get that maybe you want to have more possession, but like why not do this to everyone if you can do it? So like if you can hold a low block and make Miami look like that, then counter everybody. Nobody else is going to be able to break you down. They're going to have to. You're going to lull them in. Like I don't understand why they're not the new Minnesota in a way. Like they
Yeah,
are like what Eric Ramsey needed. That
yeah,
roster, you know.
I, I think that they did at times, even when Sun was there, against the poorer teams in the league, struggle to break down low blocks because I think there are teams they're just more talented than that they're going to have possession. So I
Yeah.
think that's been a lot of the emphasis from DeSantos this offseason is we have to be a team that can adapt to both ways and be able to break down a low block because they really were incapable of it last year against teams that just refused. Like I'm even a Minnesota side that just refused to move up the field. Like
Yeah.
you have to be able to do it, and I think that's more so what the season's going to end up being is, hey, when we absolutely have to, let's say we know we can, but when they're at their best, those two guys it really is in the counter, and that's when they continue to be their best. We saw LAFC try to break down a little block at the beginning of last year with Giroud, and that feels like
Yeah,
a fever dream in a year
that was.
ago, in like, I mean, multiple years ago. But that was not that long ago where we saw that not working. And I think from LAFC, you've got to be happy with Martinez in this one, and that was a guy that you have a lot of expectations for, and really didn't perform up to that last year. And I think he can get very lost, of course, when you have the two other guys that you do up top. But if they can get contributions out of him here and there this year and just have some type of consistent play, I mean, this is a team that can really just take that next level jump like we saw and really contend for every single trophy competition that they are in this year. And why a lot of people like us predicted them to win some trophies this year. But I think Miami will be fine. You don't have to overreact to anything. They'll figure it
Yeah,
out, and LAFC they'll react and
they're
just
doomed.
celebrate and
They're
say you're the
doomed.
best team in the
Yep.
league. Let's get into the late games here, Tony. We have Portland Timbers at home versus the Columbus Crew. This is a game once again, not a ton of great chances created, but the teams finished the chances they had that were, I guess, technically good chances. Columbus goes up early. Portland responds at halftime. We've got a 2-2 draw. Then you've got this wild goal at the end where Kevin Kelsey heads it back to the middle. The ball,
Yeah.
if you have to go watch it, it felt like the ball was just sitting there for like, I know it was probably 2 seconds of real time. It felt like an eternity where you
Yeah.
as a watcher were just like someone touched this. And Lassiter comes in, cleans it up. It's just a hysterical goal to watch where it just felt like everyone was standing around waiting for someone to attack it. And they get the goal late. They get the big win at home. Portland continues to be one of those best environments if to go to in the MLS and that crowd environment and what it can be. Huge win for Portland early on the season, and that offense is clicking early. And then for Columbus, I don't know. I'm not coming out of this one super bummed. This is your first game with a new coach. You got production out of your top two guys, which is what you want to see. And I think the concern we had and a lot of people have did rear its head, which is defense is a question mark for me, and the midfield without Nagby is a question mark for me. And both those things were dominated by Portland in this one by a 40-year-old Chara at times. And the fact that this guy just keeps going out there and playing 90 minutes is absolutely insane. And I think that Columbus, for a lot of this year, is going to be searching for Darlington Nagby replacement. They signed, who did they sign? It was the Premier League
Andres
guy.
Gomez.
Eric Gomez, who's another 40-year-old, and in the late end of his career. I don't really feel great about that one and how that's going to work with this team. We'll see, but they're definitely going to be searching for a box to box guy that's going to command the middle of the field going forward.
Yeah, I think that this game was interesting because they it felt like they ran a lot of the game. Held a lot of possession, had really good field tilt. Um, weren't really getting necessarily the chances that they probably deserved with that when you just kind of generally think of teams dominating that way. But a lot of that came from, in my opinion, it like kind of like you said, it wasn't the midfield. It was sort of turnovers that fell into their laps. It wasn't like, defensive prevailing contributions or stuff like that. So that's the interesting part to me. I do think that it's a little bit of a false flag that they got 2 goals out of this game. And especially the one was just, Rossi's is magic, right? But if you're just looking at the numbers, how many times that shot goes in,
Yeah,
it's not many. So like all of that to say, like this could have been a 3-1 or maybe only 2-1 if Portland didn't push like they felt like they could get a game. And then kind of like you said with that defense, I think that Crew fans would hope that like that last goal does not signify what the defending is going to look like for this season, because like you said, that felt like that ball stayed there forever. But also if you pause and hit a freeze frame when that ball hits the ground, there's 4 or 5 yellow shirts
oh,
closer,
that's
you
it.
know.
And I didn't mean when I said that. I didn't even mean just you're waiting for a Portland player to go after it. I was waiting for any Columbus player
Yes.
to react to the ball
Yes.
sitting there. Any of them,
Right.
because they were all the ones that were closest to it. And it's almost like the Portland player just was like, I guess I
Yeah.
can go get this.
Right. You run it's like a pity attempt, like when
Yeah,
you're the goalie and you see someone bike, you just pity dive, to make it look good. But it was just like yeah, there like he wasn't even on the screen yet. Mora wasn't before. Anyway, so all that to say, like, definitely some cracks in the armor potentially with the crew. It's also a long road trip to start, the season. I can understand that, may weigh you down a little bit. I'd like to see, this team play a home game again, just see how much they're going to stick to when they're the favored team, when, it's like, hey, we can use our guns. I mean, Abu Ali with the goal and the assist, like, obviously, like, they're on to something with that. So there's pieces to work with, but then there's also some glaring holes, and those are the kind of chaotic teams that you like to watch, honestly, because that makes
yeah,
it a most unpredictable, fun deal.
yeah. I think both these teams. I'm interested to see how they rebound from this one. Like, will it
Yeah.
continue? Are we going to see some improvement? Will be interesting to watch. Let's go on to this one. Another one I don't think we need to spend a bunch of time on is San Diego winning 5-0 against Montreal. This is going to be a bad season. I think this could be like historically bad for
Yeah.
Montreal and what this team is. Thomas Aviles gets a red card in this one in his first game, and I I don't know. This looked like a side San Diego that was one of the best teams last year, has already played some competitive games this year before this game, and looked like a team that was just ready to score. And the fact that Andres Dreyer didn't get a goal in this is shocking, and that might be the big
Devastating for
storyline from
fantasy.
this
Yeah.
one. Was him not scoring, and Montreal. I mean, I don't. If you're a fan of Montreal, I'm praying for you this year. It's been a rough couple years, and this could be the darkest of them all.
Also, like, if you're a fan of Montreal, like, you obviously don't like that team. Like, you're not actually you don't like soccer. You're not you don't watch like
You're a sicko. You're a true
you're a
sicko.
sicko. Yeah, actually, hang
We
in
love you.
there. It
Yeah.
won't get better, but hang in there. Um, Also, Toto Aviles. I mean, like, dude's played in the league for like 2.5 seasons now. And I think this is like his seventh red card. Like,
I think it's
he,
like his like third straight red card week one, isn't it, or something? It's like
I didn't see
I
that. Okay.
I think it might be.
Oh my
There's some,
gosh.
I saw some ridiculous stat about it where it's like a tradition. Like every year he does this.
A tradition unlike any other.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, I guess, man. I guess. Like,
that's all
I'm
we need to
happy.
say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy that I dubbed this one the hydrogen bomb versus coughing
Oh,
baby game of the week. Made me look really good on that one. Um, yeah, Dryer screwed me in fantasy. Um, that's about it. That's all I got to
no,
say here.
golden boot, not fantasy, because
And, well,
he had assists.
that's
He had
true. He had
assists.
his assist, but imagine if like one of those other goals was,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
his, then he would have been
He'll
crazy.
get
So
his.
yeah.
Okay, well, let's move into the last game of the night. I think another quick hitter. We have San Jose winning 3-0 against SKC. Another team I'm very concerned about in terms of point total this year. San Jose, though, you've got to be super impressed with this start of the year. Timo Werner just got to the United States, I think, yesterday, and just got his visa all cleared. So I don't think we'll see him this weekend featured, but next weekend will be his first in week 3. So to go and get a 3-0 victory without this DP guy, or actually with no DP attacker anymore, with Chicho Rago gone and Timo Werner still not there, that's great. I'm also how many times did they pitch a shutout last year? Because that didn't
Yeah.
happen very often, and you've got to be happy about that. I know it's SKC, but I think to do this in front of your fans week 1 kind of gives me that hope that Bruce Arena is going to do Bruce Arena things in his second year like he normally does. So it'll be interesting to watch there and see how Timo Werner fits into this one. And then for SKC, another team that I'm concerned about. I mean, we've talked about it. They sold oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Who did they sell to?
Oh, yeah, Shallowy.
Shallowy. They
Yep.
sold Shadowy like what felt like hours before the game. So you don't even have one of your 11 senior rostered players. And this looked like a team that does not have talent. That's what it looked like. And that's that's kind of what you saw.
The Jovelich erasure is killing me right now. No talent. I mean, Jovelich.
No talent around Jovic.
Okay, there you go. But I think that's if you're looking for hope in a false place for. I mean, obviously you won 3-0. You don't need to look for hope in a false place. But if you are looking for more hope, you could say, hey, like a clean sheet against a team with Jovelich. Like that's kind of how Sporting Kansas City was last year too.
Yep.
Was we should beat them, but they'll surprise you with a goal or two. They'll poke one in and make it a little uncomfortable at times. But to really just handle this game from start to finish, I think was a great thing for San Jose. Daniel Mooney, center back with 2 goals. How come I did not draft him as my defender? Already regretting that. Preston Judd with the goal too, which not that he's going to make things too much interesting. They're going to start Timo Werner, but it's just one of those things to say, hey, he could maybe on the move, maybe a good second stringer. I don't know. I thought he was going to be able to do it on his own, but when you get Timo Werner, you get Timo Werner. So
Yeah. Well, let's get into the Sunday games here. These last two, we have first starting with LA Galaxy at home versus NYCFC. This game started fast. Jacques Klaus got on the score sheet right away for his new club with a Marco Royce assist. Two things that I think Galaxy fans were very happy to see that early to start the year. This one then goes south as LA Galaxy get a red card leading to a penalty in the 65th minute, and you then drop from winning position 2 points. NYCFC, you've got to be just pumped you're coming out of this one with a shared point going across the country week 1. I think that's just a tough assignment. And I mean, besides that chance for LA Galaxy to begin the game and maybe one other, this team offensively still looks like they don't have anybody to replace Ricky Puig in that hole that he has in that team. And I don't know. I don't know how or what happened to Joseph Paintsill and Gabriel Peckin, who took their souls out of their bodies. But these two guys, they have to produce at some level. And who knows? Maybe if the red card doesn't happen, we're talking about this very differently. But it's disappointing for LA Galaxy at home and super good for NYCFC to get a point out of this game. And arguably could have gotten more, and they could have gotten all 3 points. And Galaxy to hold on late was good for them and to get that point after the red card, but they should never have been in that place to begin with.
yeah, I think that this game, I mean, obviously like a lifesaver for an NYCFC in that turnaround. Garces is just a player that a lot of times I think you either like he's got a pretty high range when it comes to what he's able to provide, and it's really just a lottery ticket as far as what you're going to get on a given day. And well, you got a double yellow penalty kick that can gives up your lead kind of day from him, and that's the unfortunate part with it. Getting Klaus going's great. You mentioned Peck and Paintsill, but I kind of feel like Royce. We've constantly just wanted more out of, and just aren't going to get that. I mean, he has the assist on this one. It is a nice cheeky assist, but I think the game has to kind of come to him. You don't really see him go to the game a lot, and I think that kind of is again part of that Puig size hole that just Galaxy are fighting through. And I again, their floor is higher than what it was last year. I thought Glesnes was fine. I thought Hack was fine. I think that a lot of the Galaxy fans / critics right now want Hack to go back to the center back line with Glesnes because that's where he was good with NYCFC. I'm not sure what kind of shuffling Galaxy have to do make that happen, but maybe we'll see it. Maybe we won't. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with your assessment too. Hey, this is good salvage points from New York City on the road, tough assignment. I think your DP and Nico Fernandez, really propped a lot of that up and was able to keep it. So those are the quick thoughts from that one from our Sunday night soccer matchup. I think both teams in a lot of ways can be disappointed, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Totally. last game of the week, we had Seattle Sounders winning 2-0 at home versus Colorado. Pretty expected result, just where these two teams are in terms of competitiveness right now. I think we still want to see more from Colorado and Paxton Aronson and what they can do. But week one under new coach on the road at Seattle, that's a pretty rough assignment for a team like this. And unfortunately, we saw Jordan Morris go down really early again, which is, I just feel bad for the guy. Like, this just it becomes a yearly thing. And when he's on the field, he scores. It's just how much can he be on the field? And his replacement comes in, Paul Rothrock, and has a fantastic game. I mean, you got to go
Mm-hmm.
watch that hustle down play to go save the ball and then lead to the assist to Rusnak to start this game. And then he gets a goal himself in the 62nd minute to ice this one. And um, Seattle's going to be competitive, man. That's what they do. They're going to win at home and they're going to be fighting for trophies. That's what they do every year. And this game may only made me feel better about that and may have dropped my hopes for the Colorado Rapids just a little bit.
What I'll say about the Rapids too is just kind of looking at their structure, their passing network that is kind of made at the end of every game. Theirs is probably the most discombobulated I've seen of all the 30 teams. Just in terms of like it's really hard for a computer to figure out how they're set up and what they're trying to do. Paxton Aronson's like playing striker somehow. Rafa Navajo is like dropped in further than some of the defensive mids were. Like it's just a weird deal, and maybe that was the Sounders' effect on them, or maybe it's just disorganization, typical coming from a Spurs coach, right, PJ? But wrote the badge, yeah. But no, I
He's a
think that
Thomas Frank disciple. I don't claim him.
that's right. That's right. But I think the Jordan Morris thing sucks. I mean, he just cannot catch a break. Paul Rothrock, does he need to credit the ad board with a secondary assist? That's my spin zone for this game because he pushes off the ad board to get close, fast enough to the ball to whip in that cross. I don't know. We need as a competition committee need to evaluate how close we're putting those things. But that's what the Colorado fans are saying. But no, I mean, I think this is just a really controlled game from Seattle for the most part, and really kind of just business as usual for them.
Totally. And yeah, that will do week one. Great week one. It was great to watch.
Yes.
Now, it's not our week one. We're about to talk about our week one because we didn't get to watch it live. My wife, if you want an insight in my life, she was like, "Oh, like, what are we doing Saturday?" And I was like, "We, what are we doing?" And she was like, "Should I make plans?" I was like, she was like, "When should I make plans?" And I was gonna hang out with someone. I was like, I would look at about 7 p.m. on Saturday night because I'm going to be parked up with a baby monitor next to me watching the TV. So that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. We do have quite a few Sunday games this weekend. We have 4 Sunday games, so which I personally think is great that they're doing that this year. It makes it because right now you're not competing with football like that. That's an open day, so go in there, get some games in, and the only thing that's going on is NBA, and I think those two fan bases don't really cross over a ton. So I think this is smart of them to do more of this year. For this today, Tony, because time constraints, I don't want this to be too long of
Rapid
a
fire.
podcast.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do is we are going to, for Stin's picks games this week, we're gonna cover those ones more. Like, we'll do more in depth because those are the better games of the week, hypothetically, according to Stin, because we give him freedom to pick those. And then for these other ones, we'll just do a quick score prediction and what just brief hits. Brief hits. We'll keep it moving. But let's start. I'm gonna say this. We don't have. This is the only one that I'm gonna pull an exception to. I'm gonna make it a little bit longer. We don't have many bad games this week, which is a good thing. We don't. There's not a clear. This is sicko game of the week. So by default, whoever is playing Montreal is the sicko game of the week, in my opinion. And that is our 2:30 Saturday slate.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be, if you want a get right game in the MLS after a disappointing week one road loss, that is the Chicago Fire at home. And I think this one could be like a 3-4 nothing game. And Just I I couldn't be more down on Montreal. So I'm gonna go 3-4 nothing Chicago in the sicko game of the week.
Okay, I'll take. I mean, Chicago, but I think there's goals, no Avilés, so I think that Montreal will be a little bit better off than what they were before. Uh, well, I'll say 3-1. I'll give it that.
Okay,
I think,
that's
yeah,
respectful. They get their first
yes,
goal.
correct.
Yeah. Okay. Next game here that is not included in Stin's games of the week. We have Red Bulls at home versus New England. I'm secretly really excited. This is a 2:30 game that we can have alongside the other 2:30 game. Also, just a quick side note. I love that they have more games early on in the day. It's not just all
Yeah,
like 40 games at 7 because I can't watch all
right.
of them at the same time. Having two games that I can pick from at 4:30, 2:30 is great because you can pick the better of the two.
Yep.
We have
It's
Red Bulls at home
it's
versus New
always
England. This is the
easier.
one I will be watching because
Yep.
I want to see more of these Red Bull kids and what they're going to do in a second week under Michael Bradley. I'm going to go Red Bulls 2-1 in this one. I think it's going to be a closer game. And I think that you're going to get the Michael Bradley just era starting off right.
I think I'm gonna go.
Two
I'm gonna
youth
go
coaches
three.
here, by the way.
Two youth
This is
coaches. I think I'm gonna go higher score than that. I think I'm gonna go 3-2.
okay.
But I'll still give it to Red Bulls. I think I like the attack here, so we'll stick with it.
Awesome. Another game that is not on Stin's list here is Colorado at home versus Portland. We just talked about Colorado, not in a great spot. We don't know how we feel about them adjusting with a new coach. First home game though, Portland on the road. I'm gonna go 2-1 Portland. Despite that, I know home teams run this league, but I don't think it's gonna happen in this one. I think Portland's offense is quite a bit better than Colorado's offense and defense.
I'll take draw here. We'll go down the middle. I hopefully the home strength makes this team look like it plays soccer. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
Next game here, 4:30 window as well. We have FC Cincinnati on the road at Minnesota United. We talked about Noe Vander most likely in this one. I I haven't heard anything about James Rodriguez. I don't know if he's going to be playing this game or not. So that will be a must, make it a must watch in that scenario. This is on Stin's list, so we can talk about this
Mm.
game. I think this is actually. I mean, if James Rodriguez is playing, this is like the best standalone game of the bunch right now that you can go in and just see that debut at home in front of the Minnesota fans. If not, it's still gonna be interesting. You know how I am. I'm gonna always pick my team in FC Cincinnati. I think it's gonna be a really tight game though. I don't think this is a team that's gonna go on and dominate on the road, even though that is at times what they did last year. Minnesota coming off the draw. I think they have enough offensively to get a goal across against FC Cincinnati. So I'm going to go 2-1 Cincinnati, and I'm going to ride with our boys.
I'm gonna take a pretty bland 1-1 draw here.
That's I can see that so much more.
Yeah, I think that I was talking about that left side thing, and then I was kind of thinking about like if this is still a Minnesota team that's going to tend to sit back a little bit. I don't know how much of that service you're really going to be able to go in. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe this is a game Jabari shines, but I don't know. I'm pretty worried about that. We'll see if this just seizes up anything. I guess in
Yeah,
terms of FC Cincinnati attack. So I'll take a 1-1 draw here.
yeah. Stin has FC Cincinnati winning 2-1 in this game for the Stin
Very
picks
good.
out there.
Very nice.
Next game that is included in Stin's picks as well. RSL at home versus Seattle. This is an iconic matchup because I'm pretty sure RSL dominates this matchup as of recently. Am I wrong in that, or is that just like my mind tricking me?
Uh, sort of. They Seattle
I
won
don't
the
want to say
last
dominates,
one.
but they compete very well in this matchup.
Yeah, all time. I mean, they have won the head to head, but
I would be interested to
let's
know what their
see. The
recent games
last
have
three
been.
games was 1-1 and 1, but then after that they had a 2-0 and a 3-0 against Seattle. So, uh,
3-1-1 the
mixed
last
bag.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have RSL at home, first home game, trying to bounce back after Vancouver. Seattle first road game. He has RSL winning this game 2-0. Just so you know.
Wow.
I don't think that's the scoreline. I think this is going to be a shared point in this one. I think we're looking at 2-2. I think we're going to see goals in this. I think RSL is going to get on the score sheet. I think with Diego Luna returning, I think that's going to give them a boost, and I think Seattle's offense is good enough to score against this RSL defense and the fullbacks that are playing center back for them.
Yeah, I'm going road win on this one. I think it's
Mm.
Seattle. Don't need to overthink it. Poly prime time. That's it.
Paulie prime time. I like that.
Yeah. Oh no, the streets have been calling him that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I've missed that one. I'm not in the streets, I guess.
That's what they say.
Next game we have here is San Jose at home versus Atlanta. This was probably the next in line for Sicko game of the week.
Yeah.
This is uh this is a rough. I actually think this is a rough scheduling for Atlanta to go back to back road games and to go from Cincinnati to San Jose is pretty rough. And because of that, I'm going San Jose again. I think that I believe in the Bruce Arena second year bump. I think that that offense proved something to you last week that they can score at home, and this Atlanta attack can't score. That's about all I need to say on that. And I think they're going to win this one 2-0.
Yeah, I like San Jose on this one. Maybe a 2-1 here. Yeah, it's just if they can do that to Sporting Kansas City, they can probably do that to Atlanta too. So
Yeah.
simple math.
Yeah. Simple math.
Yeah.
Next game, 8:30. Yeah, only two 7:30 games. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Next game, 8:30, Dallas at home versus Nashville. Super fun game to watch. This is not on Stin's list, so we got to be quicker. I think we're going to see goals in this one, and I'm going to call 2-2. I'm going to go draw on this
Whoa.
one. I know
Wow.
I want to go Nashville, and I should go Nashville, but I want to be a little risky with this one. I think Dallas at home is going to be a little frisky
Okay. Okay. I'm going
in front of the
Nashville.
5,000 fans.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 11. Thank you. Um, I'm going Nashville over Dallas. I think Dallas is overrated. I think Nashville's properly rated.
Oh, they're
Enough
going to
said.
score so many goals. Why did I even do that? No,
Yeah,
I'm
that
sticking
was
to it.
rough.
I'm
You
sticking to
have
it.
to. You have to. I
Yep.
wouldn't let you change.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, next game, Houston at LAFC. This is on the list of Stin's games.
Yeah.
This I know is a Houston does well against LAFC, and I think that's might be why this is on his list.
Yeah. He just loves calling it out.
And he has Houston winning 1-0. I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm going LAFC victory on the road in this one. I'm going to go 2-1. I think LAFC is just that good this year. I think they're a different type of team. I think Houston, we've talked about it, it's still gelling as a team, and I don't think that's going to just be figured out in 1 week. They allowed chances. They didn't have create a bunch of chances. Bogu's revenge game. I'm actually wondering if that's in his video as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think that will probably be said at some point.
Yeah, that's interesting from that standpoint. That totally escaped me.
But
Um,
I'm
yeah,
gonna still go with LAFC and the talent they have.
yeah, I got to go with LAFC too. I know there's a conception that Houston owns LAFC, but like you kind of look at it and it's just, I don't know, it's not that bad, but
I just can't wait to feel stupid because they're probably gonna
that's
do
what
it
it
again.
is. Yeah, that's it.
Next game we have here is SKC against Columbus Crew. This is not on the list. I got to go Columbus Crew on the road, despite this being a home game. I think they win this one 2-1.
Yeah, there's 12 players on the Kansas City roster, so that's it. That's
Is there
all.
any
That's my
scoreline
analysis.
prediction?
Oh, 10-0. Biggest
No.
MLS. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
come
No, no,
on.
no. It's
11.
11. No, it'll be. I'm gonna go. Actually, 4-2. 4-2.
Whoa. Whoa.
Abu Ali goes crazy, but we know Columbus defense struggles right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that'll be a game. We've got Vancouver at home against Toronto in the next 9:30 game. This is a standalone game at that time. This is one of Stin's games. He has this game ending as a draw. I agree with him in that one.
hmm,
I think we talked about the concerns of Vancouver not looking great. I think this is a game that you could be like, oh, we survived. And I've seen this from FC Cincinnati. You get that like close win week one. You're like, we got 3 points. That's all that matters. And then you see them drop points in a scenario where they shouldn't in the next game. And I think Toronto's going to be hungry in this one to get a point after not getting one last week. Another tough back-to-back road games for Toronto. I think this is a tough scheduling for them to start the year too. I'm going to go 1-1 as well. I like his score prediction there. I think Toronto gets a point out of this one.
I'm going to go with the draw too, but not because I think in a normal world Vancouver wins this, but they're finishing up with this round of CONCACAF, so this makes it 4 games in 2 weeks roughly. So I think that's really going to start to pile up on them. I think they're one of the teams that did not rotate as much as some of the others. So I think that's just something that tends to fatigue teams in this stage of the season. So I'm going to take a draw.
Nice. Last game on Saturday, we have LA Galaxy at home versus Charlotte. Charlotte is having to go on another road game as well to the LA Galaxy. Oh God. I'm gonna go 2-1 LA Galaxy. I think they bounce back this week, and I think they will have all 11 guys for the whole game, and I think Charlotte's still figuring out their attack as well.
Yeah, I got Galaxy at home. I just think that if Charlotte's going to struggle against St. Louis like that on the road, then I'm a little bit worried about them when it comes to the Galaxy, especially if this is a Galaxy team that we haven't seen from recently, but just know every now and then they can really strike and punish you. So I think that I'm going to take the Galaxy here, but definitely a 1 goal margin type game.
Okay, let's move on to Sunday. We have Austin at home versus DC. New look DC squad. Austin still figuring out that offense to a degree, and I think they get it done. I would love to pick DC continuing high here. I just can't do it on the road. I think Austin gets a 2-1 victory in this one.
I'm going to stick with Austin at home too. I think that Philly, I mean, could be a very interesting season for them, but I don't
DC.
want to read too much into DC. Well, no, I'm saying like
Oh, okay.
DC
Okay.
like
I got you.
winning over Philly, like kind of maybe a false flag type deal. Austin, I think a little bit more known quantity for me, and just being at home, you got to take them.
Yep, that crowd will be electric. Philly at home versus NYCFC. Man, this is a great, just like Eastern, Midwestern matchup right here.
Yeah,
And we've got Philly at home. I'm gonna go 1-1. This comes from more of a standpoint of me being a non-believer in the Philadelphia Union this year, and them still trying to figure out what this team's gonna look like. And I think NYCFC does not have a great attack, so that's why I don't want to go more than 1 goal for them. And I think they get a shared point out of this one.
I'm going NYCFC on this. I think we're going to induce sheer Philly panic across the
Mm,
nation with this. No, I think they're a little bit scrambled right now. I think NYCFC did a good job at just kind of staying in the game with the Galaxy and letting it come to them at the right time. And I think that honestly, if I had the Galaxy play the Union neutral site right now, I think I'd have the Galaxy win. So transitive property here, right? That's how this all works. So that's why I'm picking New York City.
yep. The last game on Stin's picks here, we have Orlando at home versus Miami, the battle of that Florida we were talking about. And this is, I feel bad for Orlando. This is like, you couldn't have come off a worse home performance throughout the year, and you're getting the hungriest Miami you could probably get all year. And
Yeah,
this he has Miami win this one 3-1. I really do agree with that score line. I think there's going to be a little bit of intensity for Miami in this one to be a little desperate for a result. I think they're score goals. This feels like to me the Bertarame coming out party. Like you're going to see him score 2 goals in this game, and Messi look great, and this Orlando defense have a ton of question marks after this week.
we had a bunch of question marks for him before
Well,
this week too. Yeah,
that's what I'm
like
saying. It's like a continuation of like this is
correct.
going to be bad.
Yeah, I mean, unless Maxime Crepeau can somehow just
Put
pull
together
out
that
a
performance again.
9.4, yeah, again,
Well, he still might allow
that's true.
4 goals and put up a 9.4.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Miami's the only right pick here. Orlando's just all scrambled right now, and Miami, this was a perfect poke the bear moment. They're pissed now, and they're just gonna come and stomp on their rivals
Uh,
at their place. Tough start of the season for Miami though. That is an interesting first 2 games, but I'm
yeah,
sure they will. They'll handle this one pretty well.
yeah. It's like the semi, like it's like the pseudo home game. Like they probably
Yeah,
trained at home all week, so they're really having a normal week. and they're going to go into this one hungry. Sunday Night Soccer, that game too.
Hmm.
Last game is San Diego at home versus St. Louis. This could look similar to their week one, not quite as bad, but I think this is like a San Diego like 3-1, 4-1 performance.
Yeah, I think this one's a pretty easy one to pick too. Just, I mean, maybe my hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby of the week. Maybe. I I mean, look back at all of our other ones again. And nothing else feels right for that. So, yeah, this is my hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby of the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well that will be the preview of this week. Let's get into Stin's picks really quick and see what he has for us.
Let's go to Minnesota, where we have yet another Kip Keller Bowl, where Drake Callender has less goals allowed than Dane St. Clair. It won't be enough to stop this orange-hot FC Cincinnati team. Minnesota 1, FCC 2. We move across the Rockies where the bogeys are out. Jordan Morris is dead to me. Something about the altitude has Seattle performing like Tony abroad. RSL 2, Seattle 0. Houston is the place where LAFC goes to die. I don't understand it, and I will never try to. Just like the decision of player starters up 6-1 in aggregate. Houston 1, LAFC 0. Let's go to the second place country for the cross-coastal Canadian matchup. CCC Lakes finally catch up to the Caps. Vancouver 1, Toronto 1. Lastly, we travel 32 miles southeast for the El Clasico del Sol. Two-time ref of the year, Ismail Elfat. Better hide his kids, hide his wife, hide himself. Messi's out for blood. Orlando 1, Miami 3.
Classic Stin picks gets us again the energy, the excitement. If that doesn't wake you up, or like you don't need a cup of coffee after listening to that. And he was passionate. We had some good picks this week. I actually didn't mind his reasoning for a lot of these picks.
Mm.
The worst one just being he's mad at Jordan Morris for being on his team in his Golden Boot team and getting hurt. That was, even though he knew this was going to happen. Um, and any of these other ones stand out to you? I do actually like the CCC playing effect for Vancouver in this one.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, like I did not read this before I said that, but like I'm glad that we're on the same page with that. He's thinking the same way I am. I also cannot believe we've had back-to-back Kip Keller Bowls to open the season up. Just an insane poll for us here on this schedule. I wonder how many more we have in store. We need to check that down.
Yeah, and
Um,
him telling that ref that he needs to hide his kids, hide his wife because Messi's coming. He's
just
one of
got the
one.
perfect brain for
He's
this.
he's one of
Perfect
one.
brain. So yeah, my favorite segment, honestly. I don't no notes really. Honest, maybe the Houston LAFC thing, a little dramatic, but other than that, no notes.
Yeah, he's one of one. We appreciate Stin for his content
Yeah,
and for his picks this week. And to our listeners that stayed with us, this is a very long episode, so we appreciate you tuning in. Going forward, I know the 1 hour ones are much more. You can eat those a lot better, especially when
mm-hmm.
there's not too much time between episodes. So we appreciate you indulging in this longer episode, listening to it on your Friday, getting ready for the MLS weekend. We are right with you. We'll be there with you, watching all day Saturday, and we're excited. Our week one, me and Tony's week one, nobody else's, starts
Yeah.
on Saturday at 2:30. So we will be there with you guys. We're excited, and we will see you guys on Tuesday for the week two recap.
See you.